Let's write out the reaction for photosynthesis, and it's not going to be balanced. This equation won't be balanced. Sometimes all those numbers can just confuse people. So water plus carbon dioxide will yield sugar and oxygen. This is glucose. This is diatomic oxygen gas. That's a waste product. So you've got two inorganic substances producing an organic substance. And this happens in plants, cyanobacteria, some protozoans that have chloroplasts. So looking at this, we're going to look at two major steps. Let me divide this out. I'm dividing out what is known as the chloroplast. You can look at a picture of a chloroplast in a textbook to see that there are two major parts to it. One part is the stroma, and the stroma is the area that's filled with a thick fluid, thick with enzymes that are driving all of these metabolic pathways we're going to be talking about. And then stacks of grana, and these stacks of grana are really just these little thylakoid membranes where this first reaction is going to occur. So photosynthesis takes place in two different spots. The first one we're talking about happens on the thylakoid membrane. Now, what do you know about a membrane? How would you describe a membrane?
Phospholipid bilayer with embedded proteins.
So the phospholipid bilayer with embedded proteins. These embedded proteins are important because we're going to have a channel protein that's an embedded protein, and then proteins that are going to hand off electrons down an electron transport system. So embedded in the membrane of the thylakoid. So this reaction on the thylakoid membrane of the chloroplast is called the light-dependent reaction. It needs sunlight, and I'm going to put that above the arrow, along with all kinds of enzymes catalyzing reactions for all of these. The sun's energy to drive the light-dependent reactions. And there's two light-dependent reactions. And they both rely on the pigment chlorophyll. You can look at a picture of the chlorophyll molecule. And when we're talking about this energy from the sun, we're talking about the little packets of energy traveling on wavelengths. And those little packets of energy are called photons. And the photons excite these photosystems I'm going to talk about. So we have photosystem 1. And a photon will excite the photosystem 1 pigment that uses the wavelength of energy from 700 nanometer wavelength of red light. And then there's photosystem 2. That uses the 680 nanometer wavelength of energy from the sun. The photon excites that photosystem, and when you excite a photosystem, electrons are going to get energized and then jump out of the system into this membrane protein, and I need my pictures here, membrane protein channel where they will fall down the ETS and eventually go back to their photosystems. So photons are important because that's the energy coming from the sun exciting these photosystems. This light-dependent reaction, we're going to make some products that we're using over here in the stroma for what's called the light-independent reaction.